Hi everybody, Zach here, and welcome to the C++ tutorial on how to make Hangman. We'll be doing this in 4 steps. The first step will be getting our front page loaded and our little ASCII figure in as well. The second part will be setting up getting our word. So as you can see, we have a 10-letter word, and we have asterisks representing that word, and a number of guesses left. We then can guess a letter, and that'll be our third step. So how to handle guessing letters and how to fill in the letter in the correct spot on this asterisk representation of our word until we either get the correct word or until we are unable to guess any further. So you can see when we don't guess the correct answer, and this is the fourth step, we will display what we have previously guessed that is incorrect, and we'll reduce the number of guesses. This actually happens during the third step. But, this last step will be to show what we've guessed. That said, fire up your editor as I quickly try to lose this game to show you what happens when you lose. And we will get started. You can use any IDE of your choice. I will be using Microsoft Visual Studio 2019 for the length of this tutorial. So again, fire up your editor and let's get started. So here we are inside of our IDE. The first thing you want to do is create a new project. As you can see, I have the old project I used as the example in the background. I'm just going to go to Council App, go to Next, and I'm just going to name this as Hangman, YT for YouTube, and R for my recording session. It'll be a new solution. It'll be my CPP, so C++ YT tutorial folder, and my solution name will be Hangman YTR as well. And we will create this. It'll take a second. There we go. We have all this lovely stuff. It says hello world and all that. Well, we're going to get rid of all of this. We don't need it. We also don't need this hello world either, so we will get rid of that right away. There we go. So the first thing I want to do is I want to create my figure. The way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to go out here, and I'm not going to use namespacing throughout this. I'm just actually going to put the namespaces in each time I want to use it. Put in my std, so standard library from the IO stream, which we already have in the includes at the top. If you don't have include IO stream, go ahead and add that in right now. Console out, and I am going to put in actually, I'm going to worry about the spaces in a second, but roughly it should be like that. But again, we'll worry about that in a second, and then I'll put my end line in. And I'm going to repeat my byline here as well. Actually a bit too long. There we go. Alright, so now that I have my byline, what I want to do is I want to put in my ASCII figure. And I'm going to do that by starting with my gallows. And I'm going to put in 13 underscores and 3 spaces. Alright, and then my usual end line. I am going to cut the tutorial and jump over to after we finish this figure, and you can see how it's set up. We're just going to repeat this standard console out, the part of the ASCII art, and the part of the and the standard line, standard end line. Once you get to the end of it, test it out, see if it works. Look for what might not work in there. There's a little bit of a trick, and I want you to see what you can work out. All right, that said, pause this video, try to make your ASCII art, and see what happens. All right, welcome back. Now, if you have something like mine, you might have run into an issue, and that issue is when you run this, you're going to have missing limbs. The reason why this is the strokes we're using here, these backstrokes, have meaning. So we need to add in extra ones. These extra ones are the ones that are actually displayed. So when we run it, we have our floating figure there. So it should look roughly like this. Now, I'm not the best at ASCII art. This doesn't work for everybody. So if you can't get it to work, just play around with it, see what you come up with. Just get some practice doing your spacing and working on that. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to make this into a start menu. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare a new variable at the top. And I'm just going to name it start. It's an empty character variable. So all it's doing is it's storing storing characters, but currently it's empty. And I'm going to read into this in a second. So we're printing stuff out onto the screen for the player to see. And now we want to read stuff in. So what we're going to do is we're going to give a prompt to the player. So we're going to do a standard console out. And we're going to say, we're going to add, this is the same thing as an end line. What we're doing is we're jumping a line. So we're going to add that in. I'm not going to put a space in. I'm going to say, press any key to start. Any key, and this isn't in the original, and enter to start. And I'm going to put another end line there, and I'm going to put my null terminator at the end of the sentence there. And now on the next line, I'm going to do a standard C in. This reads information in, and now we're going to fill the start. That's all we're going to do. The second this happens, what I wanted to do, why am I getting that error there? Oh, sorry, I should be using curly brackets up here for this to work. There we go. All right, now it's asking me to press any key. I press any key. It ends the program because we have nothing after this. So the next step that we want to do is we want to add in our figure. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use a switch. And a switch is a way to control what shows up on the screen. We could use if-else statements, but that would get really messy. A switch is much nicer and neater. Now, it's going to be fairly messy because we're going to be copying this little figure over and over again. So, in fact, right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the figure, get into my copy and paste buffer. Now, for a switch to work, it has to either be of an integral type, so a variable, or an enum. And we're going to do it as an integral type of integer. So I'm going to declare an int, and I'm going to name that int tries. And I'm going to declare that tries will have a value of 6. And this is the number of attempts to guess correctly. Now this is slightly a misnomer. It's not exactly 6. This is really 7 because it starts at 0. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a while loop. And while is another control statement that says while something in these brackets, while an argument in these brackets is valid, then do something. So what we want to do while this tries is greater than or equal to 0. If I can find my equal sign, there we go. To 0, we want to do something. And what we're going to do is in these curly brackets here, we are going to do a switch. We are going to get the variable tries. And depending on what comes out of tries, we are going to display different things. So what we're going to do very quickly is just put in some cases. So we're going to do case, and this is going to be case 6. We're just going to put that in and some brackets. Sorry, I skipped a step. So after we put in switch, we want brackets here as well. There we go. Then it's going to be case 6, and we want brackets on this as well. We're going to just put a break in here. We're going to put a little extra space in just so we get started. We're not going to worry about anything else right there. We're going to go on to the next case and do case 5. And again, we're going to have our brackets, and we'll do an extra space. We'll do break. And then we'll do case 4, and so on. And a case is just saying what condition is this tries in. So we're starting at 6, and we're going to decrease this to make sure this works correctly. You might have something that popped up that said default. If you did, leave that as is. We actually need that default for some testing towards the end to make sure everything is working correctly. If you didn't get that, don't worry. We'll create one in a second. And what a break does is a break prevents fall through. What fall through means is when tries is 6, it will read this case and go 6. Do whatever's in here. If there's no break here, it goes on to the next case and does what's in here. And it keeps going until it hits a break. Now, sometimes you will not want to have breaks in. And if that's the case, then you need to document why you don't have a break in, because it's going to confuse other people. It's going to confuse you down the road. So as you can see, we don't have much in here right now, and that's just because we are going to fill this in with other information in just a second. All right, so now we're entering our last two cases. That 0 case I mentioned earlier, and then our default case as well. And default is sort of the condition it's going to be in when nothing else is true. And you can use it to actually have value. In our case, we're going to use this as our debug. Why is that giving me an error? I forgot the colon. There we go. And I'm going to do a standard cout. And I'm just going to say, if you are seeing this, seeing this line, then there is an error. We shouldn't see that line ever. We should not see this. And I saw it once during the process of making this code. All right, so the way we're going to think about this is as these numbers go down, the players use more of their attempts. So when they get to the 0, they've used all their attempts. And in this one, we just want to paste our completely hung man. In this one, we are going to remove one of the legs. So I'm going to start with this one. So they have one try left at this point, and you don't need to do the spacing. I just like having it in. I'm going to copy all of this, and I'm going to paste that in there, and we're going to remove this other leg. In fact, I'm just going to remove it by highlighting and putting spaces over it. That way we see they have 2 tries left. You go up to this one, and I'm going to remove an arm. And again, we can see they have a few tries left there as well. I'm going to highlight this one again and just keep repeating until I get to the top. Now I'm giving them a try on the neck, by the way, which is why we have that extra try. So if you haven't worked out what I was doing there, there we go. Oops, I actually did that wrong. Sorry about that. That should be the head only. I miscounted where I was at. Funny part was I did this in the building of this file originally. There's the neck one. It's number 4. And this first one, number 6, if we just copy this, will be the gallows itself with the hanging noose there. A little bit morbid of a game, isn't it? All right, so we now need to test this to make sure it works. And the way we're going to do this is this while loop will run over and over again until this statement is no longer true. So we are going to decrement our tries. And so if you put tries in, and then we decrement by doing minus, minus, and then put a break in, it will run through this. It will see this. It'll break. It'll go reduce this number. It'll go to break, so it goes back to the top. It goes through this again because it's now at 5. It's still valid, so it goes here. It breaks, and it'll just keep displaying this image over and over again. We don't want it to do that, so we just want to keep decrementing it. And in fact, like I said, we're going to make this slightly incorrect just so you can see what happens. Now, and let's run it. All right, we enter a key. Worked. All right, if for some reason it is going down to the next line, you're getting this. What you need to do is we don't want to decrement here. And in fact, actually, I'm going to set it so we don't. I'm just going to declare this as -1, just in case. It would be -1 anyway. But I want it to declare as -1 just to be on the safe side. And in fact, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to declare cout, new line, just so there's a little bit of a space, game over. Now I skipped something very important, which is my quote marks. Put a few exclamation points in, and then we have our end line at, turn off my caps locks and put end line in as well. Yes, C++ is case sensitive, so that does matter. All right. So that takes us through most of the, that takes us completely through the first part of this. Take a break and see if you can work out how we're going to read text in. Now, down in the description below, there is a text file that you can download that will have a word list in it. If not, you're going to need to make a word list that has, 10 plus words. The word list I have on that file is, I think, 100 words long, and makes it a little bit easier to work with. Okay, so welcome back, and the first thing we're going to do then is we're going to start bringing in the information that we need. And the way we're going to do that is we are going to read in the file, and to do that we need some information. First thing we need to do is we need to get a new include, so we're going to do include, and it'll be fstream. And fstream controls the file buff, which allows us to read and write files in. All right, we're going to need a few other things as well, but actually, let's do that right now while we're here. What we're going to need is ctime, so include ctime, and this will allow for us to seed a random function using pseudo random number generator based on our computer's internal clock. And we're going to need a class type as well of string. And string just allows for us to use words instead of characters. So it allows for us to use the string class. All right. And I'm going to put a comment in here that this will be my start screen, so I know what I'm looking at. And I am then going after this part. This will be the start of my game. So game. And the first thing I'm going to do in my game is I'm going to set variables use. Ooh, sorry, that should be slashes there. Set variables used throughout the game. So we have our tries. The next thing I'm going to want is I'm going to want a variable that will represent the word the player is guessing. So that's going to be from my string class. So I need to call the standard library, and I'm going to use string. And so that's my class, the variable type there, and it's going to be named word. So this will be the word the player has to guess. I am going to create another string, but this is going to be an array list. So it will be string list, and then, word list, and I'm going to put in the number 99. And this is an array of 100 strings. So remember, all an array is, it's a container of something. It contains one particular variable type. And in this case, it's containing a variable type of strings. And the way we declare an array is by using the squared brackets. All right, next, I am going to want to create a random seed for my random number. So I'm going to do srand, and it will be time, and it will be null. Sorry. And if you're not familiar with this, I recommend looking up what this random seed is. So it creates a random seed used to get a random word from the array above. All right, so now we need to get that random word. So what we need to do is we need to create we need to get that random word, as I mentioned. So what we need to do this is we need to get from our standard library and from our fstream what is the if stream, which is what reads in something. it's going to read in a variable type, and that variable type is going to be, reads in a variable, and we're going to store that variable that it reads in random word. And this file stream reads in the variable, and it's reading it in from the word list. Now, to get the word list to work, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put your word list inside of your main solution. So let me just get this open on the screen real quick. All right, so as you can see, we have my library of various YouTube videos I've done for C++. This is the prep file I worked on. This is the file that I'm currently working on live with you guys, or not live, but in this recording. So I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to go into that same folder there. I'm just going to paste that in. So there's my word list. All right. So now that that's in there, I can actually read that file in. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take this variable I just created, this random word, and I'm going to do dot, so that's an operator, open, and that's the command to bring something in, and I'm going to call the file as put in there, which was words.txt, and it reads in this file. Sorry, I just put that in the wrong spot there. It reads in this file, which is a list of words. All right, now I want to get a random number from there. I'm just going to move this line. This isn't a variable. It's part of this. So let's get random word. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a for loop. So what we're going to do is for, and we're going to declare a dummy variable that's going to get erased later on. So for this dummy variable I, and I will be equal to 0 at the start until we reach a value where I is less than 99. So when we reach 99, the statement is no longer true. So from 0 until this spot, so until we reach 99, what we're going to do is we are going to increment the value of I. So this will run once where I is 0. It goes, am I less than 99? Yes. Then I want to increase myself. It'll be 1. It'll go, am I less than 99? Yes. Run everything down here, increment itself. And it'll keep doing this until it gets to 99. The reason why we've chosen 99 is our word list is 100 words. And remember, we're starting at 0. So we can add 1 to the top of that, and that's really 100 at the end. So in this loop, what we're doing is we are getting a random word, and we are going to fill these words from this, what we're reading in here, to our word list array. So all we're doing is we're taking what we've read in, and we're storing it into our word list. And we're storing it in at the value it's reading in at. So I'm just going to copy that to make sure that that says world list instead of word list. Sorry about that. I was wondering what the heck was going on there. There we go. So what's doing is it's seeing this I and it goes, all right, get the first word from this file, store it in the 0 position, because that's where we're starting at. Am I less than 99? Yes. Increase me by 1. All right, I'm at 1. Get the next word from the list, store it in the first position. In the position 2, which is the index 1 in the array. Am I still less than 99? Yes. Okay, increase me. I'm now 2. Store me in the third index in the array, which is I2 in this case. Remember, we're starting at 0. So 0 is the first one, 1 is the second one, 2 is the third one, and so forth, until we've exhausted the list. So we're just storing that data in there. All right, so we are filling the array with words from the list. Now, we're going to test this. We want to make sure this works. So, sorry, I put comment syncs. We're going to comment it out in a second, but we want to make sure this is actually working. So we're going to do word. So we're printing out the word list, and we're going to print out the current word that it's reading in. There we go. Let's just actually hang on. We want to put end line in, otherwise this is going to be very jarring to watch. It's going to be jarring to watch either way. So let's just start this up. Enter any key. And you can see that it just quickly ran through the entire word list, storing everything in there. That E is just the random letter I typed in. Now, this is something we don't... Oops, sorry about that. Now, this is something we don't need, so we can just comment it out right now. And I'm just going to put a note in for testing purposes only. All right. So the next thing is for getting this random word is we want to get a random number. So we're going to declare a random... We're going to declare an integer. This will be int, and this will be random num. And we're going to do rand, and then we're going to do the modulus operator and do 100. This will return a value. Returns a random number between 0 and 99. In other words, it returns a list of 100, return 1 to 100, so to speak. But instead it's 0 to 99. And what we're going to do is we are going to declare word, we are going to initialize word, which we've declared up here, as being equal to our word list. Am I getting an error? Oh, it needs that. Sorry, we need a semicolon after the 100 there. All right, so I'm going to declare it as equal to the word list, and I'm going to declare it as equal to the word list. Remember, it's an array, so it has all the words in here, but I'm going to use this number to determine which item from the list it's going to be declared as. So I'm going to put rand num, which I'm actually going to retype to not have that second capital U in there, or first capital U. So it's now going get this random number. This random number will be the item in the array that will be assigned to word. All right. So now that that's happened, what we're going to do is we're going to test, again, is it getting a random word? So we're going to do stcout word, std end line, and we actually will use this later on. So while it's a test here, we will use that or something similar to that later on. E again, and it gave me the word grade. Remember, it's still running that loop afterwards. E again, and we got the word strange this time. So we are now getting our word, which is lovely. Now we can also comment this out. This is again for testing or cheating purposes. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is, now that we've done that, is we want to stop reading in from this list. We want to close the file out so we're not wasting our memory. So we're going to do our random word again, and we're just going to close that list. Now, we have the word. We want to make the word mysterious to the player. So what we're going to do is we're going to make word a mystery. We're going to do that by doing a new string, so standard string, and we are going to call this one mystery word. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to get the word. We are going to find the length of it, so operator length, which needs an argument, which we're not going to worry about because we're not looking at anything special about it. And for the length of it, we are going to print out eyes, and that will be stored, asterisk, and that will be stored in mystery word. So whatever the length of this word, if it's 4 letters, 4 asterisks will be stored in that variable. So this replaces each letter of the word with an asterisk and stores it in mystery word. Okay. Sorry, I'm just zooming in to make this a little bit easier to read. Now that we've done that, the next step is to actually print this out. And we are going to uncomment this real quick because we want to see what this looks like. We want to make sure it's the right length. And this is the one we are going to use later on. I said we're going to use this top one later on. I meant this one. We're going to print out mystery word. And it's going to be standard end line again. And test the word. We will use this later on. I'm having a fun time not spelling my variables right the second time around. There we go. Test it. All right, so we have hospitable as the word that we're aiming for, and we have the correct number of asterisks underneath it. All right, let's comment this out. Let's comment this out as well again, because we don't need to see that. And that concludes this part of it. So in the next part, we're going to get the guessing components of this to work with the player. Now, if you want to take a stab at it, I'm going to tell you you're going to need some while and for loops to get this to work. You're also going to need another variable that will be a Boolean. So go ahead and pause this video and take a stab at it. See if you can get this to work. Okay, so welcome back. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of these little bit nuisance-y tries. We don't need to decrement anymore. We know this works. So we can just get rid of these. We will have something else that will go into our switches, however, but we'll take care of that in a little bit. Actually, we leave that last -1 in as a buffer in case something goes wrong. Okay, so we have this tries. We have this while loop. This is what we are going to be working in. So while our tries are greater or equal to 0, this will run. And the first thing we are going to want to do is we're going to want to display, information related to the word for the player. So we're going to do standard cout. The word you have to guess is new line, and just going to put a null terminator there. And then we'll do, oh, I have made a mistake. Sorry about that. We need to be inside that bracket there. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do standard cout again, and we're going to display this mystery word to the player. We'll do a standard end line, and then we'll do, just give them a little bit more information to make their lives a little bit easier. Do a new line. Put your quote marks in, though, your double quotes. There are space, end quote, mystery word, and then we're going to return the length of the word, so the number of asterisks in this case, space, letters in the word, new line, and then we'll do another line letting them know how many guesses they have. You have, and that number of guesses they have is tries. Could have named it guesses, I guess. That sounded weird. It'd have been better, maybe. So you have blank number of tries left. New line. And I could just do a second new line here, but I'm going to do one on this part instead. So I'm going to do a new line here. Guess a letter, colon, space, end quote. And then don't forget your null terminator. And then do standard cin. Now, I am missing something at this point. I'm missing a variable. I have nothing I can read in yet. So I'm going to go back up here to where I'm declaring my variables for the game. And just under my integer, I'm going, since that relates to the player, I'm going to group them by what relates to the player more than anything. I'm going to declare a character. So this is a variable of a character class. So it holds a single letter. And I'll name it guess. So this will be the letter guessed. And this is what I'm going to read in is guess. So I've read in the letter the player is put in, and I've stored that in a variable called guess. The next thing I am going to do is I want to see, is this guess accurate to the word that we have on the screen? Or sorry, the mystery word, it's not the word we have on the screen. So for that, I want to check, is this Is guess correct? So the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to do another for loop. So I'm going to do for, and I'm going to declare another int I. So we're just declaring another dummy variable that starts at 0, and it's going to go for the length of the mystery word. So long as it's shorter than mystery word length, so we're returning the length, remember, increment it by 1 each time this loop goes. So for the length of the word, and it's important to use the mystery word, do the following. So what it's going to do is it's going to check if, and if the word, not the mystery word, the word itself, at any point where it's I, so if the length of the mystery word and the length of the word are the same, so at the first letter of the word, so the 0 spot, the second letter of the word, the first index there, I stands for index in this case in my head, and in many people's heads, is this equal, so we need double equal signs, to our guess. So we are going to check, does the word actual have guess in it? If it does, what we need to do is then we need to set the letter in the mystery word at that spot, so at I, where we're looking at in the index right now, equal to guess. So remember, it goes through here, goes, I'm at 0, the word is, say, 5 characters long, so 0 through 4. I'm at 0, check, is that letter there? Yes, okay, add that letter in. Am I shorter than the length, which again is 5, so 0 is taller than 4. Remember, 5 characters is 4 total here. Then increment me by 1. And it keeps doing this over and over again until this I value is the same as this length. All right, now we also then want to let the user know they got the correct answer, or sorry, the correct letter. So we're going to send a C out, and it'll be congratulations, space, guess. I hope I actually have the correct capitalization there. Space is one of the letters. It also probably help if I had the correct vowels in that word. And we'll do the end line there as well. Now, we need one more thing in here. We can't remove tries inside this loop, or it'll keep removing it for every letter that doesn't match our guess. So we need to go back up here, and we need to create a new variable that we're going to use for this. And what we need to do is we need to create a bool, so Boolean variable. It will be called correct guess. And we're going to initialize and declare this as false. Now we need to do one more thing with this before we actually can run this loop properly. But let's just deal with this part first. And if the guess is correct, we need to set our correct guess bool to true down here. All right, now there are 2 other if statements that need to be checked once this is done. So once this is done, it needs to go through and go, sorry, I just thought maybe a better way to do this, sorry. If word equals mystery word, because remember, we are replacing each letter in mystery word, each asterisk, with the guess if it's correct. And eventually, if they guess correct enough times and get all the letters in, these two will be the same thing. So if this is true, then the game's over. We want to do C out, new line, congratulations, you've got the word correct. And just to be on the safe side, I want to use mystery word. So when I run a debugging test where I actually have, say, that line unmarked as a comment, I can check, is this actually what was down here, what it should be? And it'll be standard end line. There we go. And we're going to put a break in there. This break just drops us out of the loop. We are breaking from this loop because we're done. We got the correct answer. We don't need to go through this loop again. And then anything after the loop is, ooh, we're actually missing that. We need to put that in. So let's do that right now because it's very important. We need this return 0. So it's going to break us from this loop and drop us to this return 0, which is the end of our code because the game's done. All right. Now, we also need a condition if the guess is wrong. So we'll do if correct guess equals equal. So remember that double equal false. Then what we want to do is we want to do tries. We want to decrement it. We want to decrease it by 1. And we want to print out a line saying sorry, comma, and an extra space. Guess, extra space again, is not part of the word. STD, standard end line. All right, now there is one problem with this. This will not work correctly. And let me show you what's going to happen. All right, press any key to start. We have 4 characters. I'm just going to pick Q. I have 5 guesses left. I'm going to pick E. 4 guesses. I need to actually get a letter correct. Okay. There we go. I have 1 guess left. I'm going to do Q again, which we know not to be a true letter. I'm still doing Q. I'm going to do W. I'm going to do R. I'm going to do R again, apparently. I'm going to do Z. I am going to do the number 66. As you can see, it's not removing incorrect values anymore. It's letting me guess infinitely. Also, there is an issue with this. I just noticed we need to fix that guess a letter thing. Let me just put a letter in here real quick. Oh, it's only doing that with numbers. That's fine. So what we need to do is when we come back into this loop, the very start of it, we need to actually reset that bool value. So we need to reset our bool, and that'll be correct guesses or correct guess equal to false. That when we come back in here, this is automatically true and only gets automatically false and only gets turned to true if the guess is correct. That should actually take us through everything except for this little bit of cleanup we need to do to make this a little bit prettier and easier to work with. So we turn this on. We can put a key in. It's 4 letters. I'm going to do M. Let's just do the vowels. O. I have no idea what word this can be. It's not going to be mount like I thought. Well, let's just make sure I can actually lose the game. Yep, I can. Game over. Now let's actually debug it. Let's put this on display. We're going to cheat a tiny bit just to make sure this works. All right. Any key. The word is abashed. So we'll start with A. Congratulations. A is a letter. Now you notice it prints twice. That's a bit of a problem. In fact, we can actually fix that. But before we go further, there we go. Let's just fix that real quick. What we're going to do to fix this is actually move it from here. And we're going to put it on the outside. So what you can do is an else statement related to that if. So else will be, it's, true. Let's hope we get a word that has multiple same letters in it. If not, we'll have to redo that a couple of times. Boil does not, so let's restart that. Let's do another one. Nondescript. Awesome. So N. So congratulations. You guessed N. Congratulations. N is one of the letters. There we go, and it puts it in there. So that's still working. All right, so the next step is to add in the list of the characters the person's guessed and to clean up the display a bit so it's easier to read. I want you to pause this video and go ahead and take an attempt at getting in the list of guessed characters. If you need to, return to the start of the video and take a look at what it looked like when I did it. That said, come back in a couple of minutes after you've tried and I'll show you how I've done this. Okay, welcome back. Now, the way I handled this is I have I think I've used the wrong word list for this game, by the way. I think I've used my original one, which was way too long, which I'm getting that error message. So what I've done for this is I've created a new variable. And this one's a bit weird to declare. So we have to declare and initialize it in some really weird ways to get it to work correctly. So we have number of tries is 6. So our guess is there's going to have to be one greater than this for this to work. So we're going to declare a char variable, so a character variable, will be called previous guesses. And it's going to be a array, and it's going to be an array of 7 characters. So an array of guesses. Oh, I should probably actually put my comment line in. An array of guesses needs to be one longer than possible. Oh, sorry, than the user can guess. And the reason why it needs to be one longer is we need to put a null terminator inside of the array, or it will return garbage data until it hits the next null terminator. So for this, we also need to make our lives easier, we're going to declare a null terminator at the start of it and at the end. So we are going to take the first item in the array. So we'll do previous guesses. We will take the first index, so 0, and we will set it to a null terminator. There we go. And then we're going to do for. We're going to do another for loop. So for int of I, so for index I. And we're not going to start at 0 this time because we've declared the 0 right here. We're going to start at 1. So the index 1, the second index in the array. And for the indexes all the way up into 6, increment by 1. We don't care about the 7th at all, really. We are going to, for this array, declare the previous guess at that array point. So remember when it goes through here, it starts at 1. So at previous guess 1, we want to set it equal to a dash. That's all. It goes to the next thing. It checks, am I less than 6 still? Yes, I am less than 6. I'm still at 1. Increment me. I go to 2. Add a dash at point 2. Is 2 less than 6? Then yes, go to 3, and so forth. I keep repeating this because loops are hard for people to understand. It took me ages to understand it. So I think just by drilling this kind of repetitive concept in over and over again, it makes it easier to learn. All right. Now, we're going to do something that's going to look really weird. We've declared that 6th item as this, but we don't want it to be that, and we kind of need to go up to 6 to get this to work correctly. To get the loop to work correctly in the display, that is. If you don't believe me, change that 6 up there to a 5 and see what happens after we finish these next couple of steps out. So we need to declare the final part of the array we care about, that 6th item, as our last null terminator. So it will stop reading the array at this point, and it won't print out anything else. That's perfectly fine. And in fact, it's not going to print anything out when this is equal to, when the first index is equal to this. And I'm using this just so I have something I can easily call that won't confuse the system. All right. So we've declared the variable, our vector of previous guesses. We've set it to have a null terminator at the start and the end, and everything between them is going to be a dash. We have the word you have to guess is, and then you see the mystery word, which really isn't helpful. It's not the word you have to guess is asterisk. It's, hidden there. And it tells you how many letters there are, how many tries you have left, and then it asks you to guess a letter. But what it doesn't tell you is what you've already guessed. So what we need to do is we need to do if, and then we need to get our previous guesses. We don't want this to show up the first time the player comes in because they don't have any guesses. If previous guesses at this first spot is equal to that null terminator, it should be equal to that null terminator, then what we wanted to do is we just wanted to print a new blank line. So we'll just put an end line in. So if it's equal to this null terminator, we just print an end line and move on. else, so in other words, if it's not equal to this null terminator, what we want it to do is we want it to print what the person's guessed. You have guessed, space, and then we're going to put in previous guesses. And it's going to put in all the guesses a person's made, or the dashes if they haven't made that number of guesses yet. All right, and then we go to a new line and it asks them to guess a letter. In fact, we're actually going to get a little bit more of a space in there because it's look weird without that extra space. It reads in their guess, so get player guess. Just have that comment in there to see what we're doing. So we now have displayed their guesses. We are going through this. Now, the only thing is we haven't stored the guesses anywhere yet. If we run this, nothing's going to happen because we haven't said where the guesses need to be stored. Well, the easiest place to store them is when they get things wrong. So in case 6, they haven't got anything wrong yet. We don't have everything drawn in here. It's easy to tell. But here they have. So what we're going to do here is if correct guess is not true, if it's false, then what we want to do is we want to do previous guess. And we want to store it, because this is the first time they're going to have a guess, as guess. And we're just going to keep repeating this over and over again. But we're going to change something every time we do this. Every time. Sorry about that. We're going to change this to 1 here. We're going to change this to 2 here. We're going to change this to 3. 4. And, well, they're kind of dead on that last one, so it really doesn't matter. All right, there we go. So that really kind of sets that part up. Let's test this, make sure this works. So press any key to start. I'll do E. The word is measure, so I'm just going to guess incorrect. I'm going to guess Q. You have guessed Q. I'm going to guess U, which is in measure. I have that right. Z isn't. Q, Z, P, T, E. Ooh, measure has an E in it. N, and L. There we go. Now, it doesn't display it on that last one, but you can just see that right there. So that is the basics of the game, but you notice I had a little bit of a different setup in mind, so we're going to go through that as well. We're going to show you something that you really shouldn't do, but it gives you a rough idea of things you can do. So we're going to include one more library, which will be our C standard library. And at the very start, what we want to do is we want to clear the screen after they've put in a character, that is. So, you know, they enter a character. We want to clear screen. And we're going to do that by doing standard system. And we're going to call something called CLS. There we go, which will clear the console window out. So that clears that out. And you really should not be doing this. And in fact, actually, we're going to do this at one other point. We're going to do this at the very start as well. And I'm going to make a comment. You really shouldn't use this. But it is just to show you how this can be done. This isn't, you know, the perfect way. It's to show you concepts, to get you working with various approaches. There are other things you can add into this. You can change things around. You know, one of the things I've done was I've added... in front of these, I've added 3 new lines because it just reads better in my opinion. So I'm going to do that for the sorry and the congratulations. After the after each one of these displays, I've done an STD C out. I could do this as N lines. It just is annoying to read that way. And again, a whole bunch of new I also do an end line anyway at the end. A whole bunch of new lines. I have a quote in there for some reason. And I did this on all of these just to make it easier to visually see where each round of the game is. So these little cleanup things, they're just, to make it more user-friendly. I did do a little bit something different on this one, actually. I did have this in there, but I decided this really kind of belongs, if you remember from the preview at the very start, at the top here. That way it's easier to see. Do you want to see if there's any other visual differences I've made? I don't think there are. Let's test this out. All right, so press any key. We've cleared that other window away. The word is committee, which remember to comment that out in a minute. So let's just test it, make sure. So it's a little bit too, I'm zoomed in on this, so when I'm zoomed out, it reads a little bit better. Congratulations, C is one of the letters. We don't see anything added in. The word is committee, so it doesn't have a Q in it. Sorry, Q is not part of the word. Our head is drawn in. And then we have the word you have to guess starts with a C. It's 9 letters. We have 5 guesses left. So that takes us to the end of this tutorial. Hopefully all of this makes sense, what we've done, how we've built up piece by piece by piece. If you have any questions about any of this code, please let me know down in the comments below. If there's any particular tutorial you'd like to see, also let me know down in the comments below. If you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that notify icon so you know when the next tutorial is out. If you like this video, as I said, hit that like button as well. And I will be continuing to bring you various topics in C++ or working in Unreal across this channel. So I hope you enjoy this sort of stuff, and I hope to see you in the next tutorial, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.